The air in the server room didn't smell like money. It smelled like ozone and frantic, overheated potential. It was the smell of my life's work. My 27th birthday was supposed to be the day the Synapse project went live, a revolutionary AI-driven neural network I had spent 7 years designing to optimize global logistics. I, Elara Thorne, stood in the glass-walled conference room of Thorne Innovations, watching the celebration unfold. Crystal glasses clinked, polite laughter echoed, but the spotlight was fixed firmly on my brother Darian. My father, Marcus Thorne, CEO, lifted a champagne flute engraved with the company logo. "To Darian," he announced, his voice booming with pride. "The visionary who finalized Synapse and secured the patent. He is the future of this company." My mother, Celeste, smiled, her hand resting possessively on Darian's shoulder. They looked the picture of corporate success, bathed in the glow of the digital screens. I, the lead architect and chief coder of Synapse, was standing in the periphery, dismissed with a nod. "Elara," Dad added as an afterthought, "thank you for the excellent technical support." The word support hit me with the force of a physical blow. I blinked, the bright lights momentarily blurring the $500 million acquisition offer from Apex Global that sat on the table. "Marcus," a keyboard member, Mr. Chen, interjected, a frown creasing his face. "Forgive me, but I thought Elara was the primary inventor listed on the initial drafts we reviewed 2 years ago." The room went silent. The champagne bubbles seemed to stop rising. My father's smile froze, turning brittle. Darian slowly put down his glass. "Initial drafts, yes," Dad said, his voice instantly colder, smoother. But Darian brought the final structure, the core algorithm, to completion. Elara's code was merely the framework. The IP belongs where the innovation lies. And in that silence, I realized this wasn't a celebration. It was a hostile takeover, and I was the inventor who had just been erased. I grew up believing my worth was tied to my genius. Unlike Darian, the charming business major, I lived in code. I lived in complexity. My room smelled of cold coffee and dry erase markers, not designer cologne. I spent every waking hour between the ages of 20 and 27 building Synapse, pouring my student loan money and my sanity into the intricate, self-learning network. Proportional, Marcus and Celeste, never understood my work, but they understood the valuation. They lived in their sprawling estate in Sausalito, focusing on appearances. "The family brand comes first, Elara," my mother often warned. "Keep your brilliance quiet. Let the business team monetize it." They had always subtly funneled resources, money, access, credit, to Darian. When my initial Synapse prototype needed crucial server space and funding, Darian, who had recently joined the company's strategy division, stepped in. "I'll handle the paperwork, sis. Just focus on the code. You trust me, right?" I did. I handed over the final access credentials and the core source files 2 months ago, trusting my brother to prepare the patent application with my name clearly stated. Chrome, 3 days before the party, a layoff notice landed on my desk. "Restructuring the R&D division," the email read. I had lost my job on the project I created, just as it was about to make us rich. Now, facing my father and brother, I understood the full scope of the meticulously planned betrayal. They hadn't just removed me from the credit, they had taken the ownership of my mind. However, the core algorithm was everything. It was the patentable secret sauce. Without it, Synapse was just a massive database. I turned to Darian, my voice dangerously soft. "The core algorithm is based on my self-modulating matrix." Patrick shrugged, a lazy aura. "I just added the final optimization layer. That little function made all the difference. That's the part we patented." "That little function is exactly 27 lines of code," I stated. "And it's not optimization. It's a backdoor access port." The room went completely silent. Darian's face, usually so smooth, flashed with fear. Grandpa Arthur, the founder of the company who had been observing from the corner, leaned forward. He had retired years ago, a silent legend. A back door, Elara? Explain. The final optimization layer, I said, pointing a trembling finger at Darian, is a zero-day vulnerability that allows remote, unrestricted data access. It bypasses all security protocols. Darian didn't finalize Synapse. He installed a remote key. Too loudly, too quickly, Elara. You're just angry about the patent list. Knights? Am I? I reached into my small purse and pulled out a burner phone. I hadn't come unprepared. I had anticipated the insult, but not the theft. Darian, 2 weeks ago, I watched you copy the entire Synapse core onto a private server registered in the Cayman Islands, a server not owned by Thorne Innovations. Why? I demanded. Non-profits, his charm vanishing into panicked rage. You bitch! You've been spying! Security instantly moved in, but the damage was done. My father, Marcus, was pale, his eyes darting between Darian's fury and my unwavering gaze. Grandpa Arthur stood up, his posture dominating the room. The Cayman Islands, Marcus? Is this true? It was a contingency, a tax shelter, Dad stammered. It's a sell-it-yourselves, Grandpa declared, his voice like cold steel. That is corporate espionage. He pointed at Darian. You are relieved of all duties, now. The confrontation shifted instantly from a family dispute to a high-stakes corporate thriller. Over the next 3 days, the fallout was catastrophic. Narcotics didn't press charges immediately. I didn't need to. I had the code. Schizophren spent 72 sleepless hours in a rented server facility with only Grandpa Arthur's trusted legal team, led by Michael Anderson, watching over me. I performed a full forensic analysis of the Synapse code. The theft was worse than I imagined. Darian hadn't just inserted a back door. He and Dad had been running a parallel, unauthorized data mining operation for months, selling preliminary logistics data to a rival group for massive personal profit, effectively devaluing the main company's product before the official launch. This is not just theft, Anderson said, reviewing my findings. This is a felony-level breach of corporate trust and market manipulation. I looked at the lines of code on the screen, the language of my betrayal. I need to go back in. I need physical access to the main server to inject the final patch. Too risky, Anderson warned. Your father has locked down the building. My signature, I said, cold certainty replacing my fear. There's one sequence, a time-based anomaly loop that only I can bypass. If I don't patch it tonight, the rival buyer will activate Darian's remote access and seize control of the network. TripAdvisor, under the cover of a manufactured system update, I returned to Thorne Innovations. The building was dark, patrolled by Dad's private security detail. I used my old employee keycard, which Darian had failed to deactivate, and slipped inside. The server room was cold and loud. I bypassed 2 layers of physical security, navigating the maze of cables and cooling racks. When I reached the main Synapse server rack, Darian was there, illuminated by the cold blue status lights. He was frantically typing, sweat beading on his forehead. You came back, he snarled, turning, his hands immediately falling into a protective stance. You can't stop me. You already sold my work, Steady. I'm here to reclaim it. It was our work, he yelled. I put the name on it. You never understood the business. The core algorithm is my mind, I retorted, advancing toward the terminal. You can't sell that. He lunged at me, trying to grab my laptop. I didn't hesitate. Trained from years of constant stress and late nights, my reaction was pure adrenaline and instinct. I blocked his grab, slammed the edge of my heavy laptop against his wrist, and he cried out, stumbling back. I slammed my laptop down, connected the encrypted patch cable, and typed a complex string of commands. The time-based anomaly loop bypass. A wall of firewalls rushed up on the screen, Darian's last defense. "You're too late!" he screamed, recovering and trying to rip the cable out. "It's already in," I said, pulling the cable free just as he reached the machine. "I just injected a Trojan horse that completely neutralizes your backdoor and deletes all data on the Cayman server." Darian stared, his face sinking into sheer defeat. "You destroyed it." "Snowy," I corrected. "I saved the core, patent, and locked you out forever. The only thing you walk away with is the legal repercussions." The next morning, the board meeting was held in the same room, but the atmosphere was glacial. My parents and Darian sat on one side, flanked by their expensive, nervous lawyers. I sat on the other, next to Grandpa Arthur and Michael Anderson. "Zhang Ever algorithm is secure," Anderson announced. "The theft attempt has been neutralized. However, the forensic audit confirms Marcus and Darian Thorne ran an unauthorized, off-books data mining operation using the unpatented framework, generating over $20 million in illicit funds." Glass's face was ashen. The Apex Global deal, now aware of the severe internal risk, was on ice. Grandpa Arthur delivered the final blow. "As the primary stakeholder, I am voting to immediately remove Marcus Thorne as CEO. Furthermore, all family stock holdings will be placed into a blind trust managed by Michael Anderson, with Elara as the sole beneficiary." My mother started to cry, the genuine sobs of a woman who just watched her entire social and financial structure collapse. "Marcus, no! We did it for the family!" "You did it for the yacht you wanted," Grandpa said coldly. "And Elara, who invented the technology, will now receive full ownership of the patent and the company's R&D division." I looked at my brother, now silent, defeated. He had gambled my genius for quick cash and lost everything. I hadn't needed to sue him for the credit. I sued him for the crime. I walked out of that glass tower not with a birthday cake, but with the keys to my own empire. Thorne Innovations was now Thorne Labs, dedicated to honest, groundbreaking research. The betrayal was bitter, but the code I wrote in response, the algorithm of Retribution, was the cleanest, most satisfying piece of work I had ever created. I wasn't just the technical support anymore. I was the owner. I was the architect. And I was finally free.